Welcome to the Morning Star Journal News Show. I am Matthew Detweiler, and today we have two very special guests with us that live locally in the area, and they have some exciting stuff to share with us about politics, about faith, and the great great country of America. And they are Jesse and Elizabeth Enns. Thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here.
So if you could just take a couple minutes and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, that'd be great.
I'm Elizabeth Enns, my husband Jesse Enns, and we are pastors at Antioch International Church, which is here in Fort Mill. We have lived here in the community, which for us is District 48. We've lived here for 16 years and just been part of the community on a faith-based level, but also involved in lots of organizations and nonprofit organizations that just aren't necessarily religious, but just help the community. And currently, as we have seen things unfold over the last couple years, we've realized the importance of getting involved in government. And so we've been doing that, and I'm currently running for the South Carolina Statehouse for District 48.
All right. Wow. Jesse?
Yeah, I'm her biggest cheerleader. No, this wasn't a path that we had planned. We've been pastors, like she said, for the last 15 years. And when God opens a door, Liz prayed a prayer a couple of years ago that she said, Lord, if you open the door, I'll walk through it. And that's a dangerous prayer to pray. But since she prayed that, there's just been incredible doors opening, including this one. And so we just know it. The Lord's in it and on it, and so we're excited to walk through it and see what God has. So.
Wow. So you're currently pastoring?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, we're the senior pastors together at Antioch, along with her parents, Peter and Joy Wins.
Okay.
And we take care of the day-to-day running of the church there.
Okay.
And our three boys are very active. They're all born here, and they're teenagers and having a lot of time, a lot of fun with us, either on the campaign trail or leading worship at church or whatever. So, yeah.
That's awesome. I was just watching a video on YouTube, on your YouTube page, of them talking like Bible study stuff. It's really funny. I love it. It's great content, and I think it's great what they're doing. So I guess you guys moved from Canada, right? Mm-hmm. And you became legal immigrants.
Yes.
Now you're living the American dream.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot on your plate, pastoring. Now you're involved in politics. So how long have you guys been involved in government? Has that been like always, or how's that journey been?
Really, it was leading up to the 2020 election. As we started asking a lot of questions, we saw a lot of things that didn't make sense, and we kept asking, why is this happening? Why are our legislators allowing this? Why is our governor or allowing this? And just asking a lot of questions, and things didn't add up. And so we got more involved with different grassroots groups to say, this is what we can do. We, the people, need to speak up. We, the people, need to get involved because that's our responsibility. And leading up to the election, I actually went on a 2-month bus tour with a group of women. We traveled to 10 different states and several cities in every state, encouraging people to vote based on policy and not identity, but also excuse me, as the pastor on the tour, I also was encouraging everyone to pray. We need to pray for our nation. We need to turn from our wicked ways. We need to repent. We need to call in the name of the Lord to see him moving and working in our nation. And I was so encouraged to see, although we don't see it on the news, but to see across the nation there are so many grassroots movements. There's so many groups of people that are doing just that. And so then after the election, once we mourned a little bit from what happened, I realized we still need to do something. We can't just wait for 4 years. We have to still be the people doing something. And so that's when I started Patriotic Students of America, which is a nonprofit organization, nonpartisan, non-religious, just helping young people to start patriotic clubs. And we have 87 clubs in 13 different states.
Oh, wow.
And just helping kids K through 12 to start patriotic clubs that are pro-America, pro-Constitution, and inspiring them to be great and look for greatness in this nation.
Where can people go find that? material?
They can go to patrioticstudents.com.
Okay.
That's our website. And they can reach out and they can order it online or call us or for any questions that they have for that. So at the same time as we were doing that, we heard some different legislators say, we need a conservative voice of people to come to Columbia to testify for and against the different bills that are being brought up. Because there's a lot of liberals that come and flood the room. We need conservatives to come. And it's interesting because I know within our sphere and a lot of our friends, they're working really hard. They're working really hard to pay their bills and take care of their family. They don't have the flexibility in their schedule or maybe even the confidence in public speaking to go down to Columbia to testify. And I realized a couple people asked me, you could do this. You know how to speak. You know how to research. You have flexibility in your schedule. And I realized this is God opening a door. So I started doing that. I started researching lots of bills and what's happening at the State House. And I started signing up to testify for and against different bills that really affect and impact us right now, but also our children and our grandchildren. And so and I also started educating the community of these are the bills that are being brought forward. If you're happy with it, let your legislators know. If you're not happy with it, let your legislators know and why, because they are there to speak for you.
Mm-hmm. That's representative. Yeah, that's awesome. So that kind of led into, you were like, okay, well, how did that lead into you running for State House then? So
unfortunately, I was really disappointed. I went several times, or sometimes during COVID, we had Zoom testify, but still we're hearing their responses. We're hearing what other people are speaking about. And I was so disappointed when I saw that our legislators were not really standing strong for our conservative voice. I felt like they were just kicking the can down the road and letting us run out of time so that the legislation that we truly need in place in this state now, before the problem's bigger and out of control that we can't fix, they didn't want to face it. They didn't want it on their voting record, whatever it might be.
Can you give us kind of an example of that?
So this past session, so I've been doing this for 2 years. This past session, we saw lots of, I think there was 5 different bills that came forward, either against CRT, against indoctrination, and against just what's happening in the classrooms.
In education.
In education. And there were over 20 hours of testimonies hearing all of the proof of moms coming forward, getting out of their comfort zone, coming forward and testifying, this is what my children saw in school or heard in school. This is the book that was available to my child, things like that. And I saw it really was like a circus at the State House. And I was appalled at what I saw. I wrote a letter saying this is not how we should be treating our people. The way that they were being questioned and berated and made to question what they're saying or look like a liar for coming forward with this testimony. It was just to intimidate our citizens, our people, from coming forward and saying, this is truly happening in our state, across the state. It's not an isolated situation, and we need to do something about it. And I just saw our people just
not being represented, basically.
Well, not being represented by the legislators, but then also being attacked by some of the legislators for coming up and letting their voice be heard.
Wow.
And it was appalling. And the attacking wasn't happening by our Republican representatives, but they sat by and allowed it to happen.
Okay.
And that's not okay. Right. And so that was something that happened this round, whereas we should have had that lockdown taken care of on the House level and the Senate level, signed by the governor, because now it's still not taken care of, and we're getting ready to start another school year where the problem is still there and actually getting worse.
Right.
And in our school system, we can't keep kicking things down the road. Every year matters in a child's life in their education.
Because according what I read on your website, you were a teacher.
Yes.
Right. Did you teach in public school?
Yes.
Okay.
I've taught in both public school and private school. Plus, for different seasons, I've also homeschooled my children.
Okay. So you have education in that, and that's, I guess, one of the big things on your heart is to address the education.
System.
Just like the broken system. Yeah, I bet in South Carolina.
And some people just are focusing on whether it's CRT or the indoctrination in the classroom, and that's a big deal and needs to stop. But the truth is, we need to really come alongside of our teachers and even re-educate our teachers to get back to the basics of how to teach our children how to read, how to do proper math, real math. These things, South Carolina has been ranking among the lowest in the nation for a long time.
Wow.
And there's no need for that.
Right.
We should all be tied for first. And when I was in the classroom in the public school, I was literally handed a script. Teacher should say this, students should say this. And I was like, this is not teaching. This is not teaching. So I would spend the time to go through the lessons. All right, this is what they're trying to teach the children. Then I would spend the time to make something magical and come alive for all my different types of learners. And then I would see those aha moments in the students come alive and say, oh, now I get it. But you can't just have a blanket script and think all the kids are going to get it.
Right.
You need to find and teachers know this. And so they need the room to be able to teach and use their gifting instead of just follow a script that leads to a standardized test. So we need an overhaul in that. We need an overhaul in our the school boards, because as we have seen, this ugly thing rear its head over the last couple years. School boards should not be the most powerful thing. They're supposed to work together with the schools and the community to do what's best for the children. And so we need to overhaul in that. And we need to overhaul in the curriculum. And so there's like all these different arms that really need to be fixed, which is why part of this election is also for superintendent of education. That is crucial. That really matters. And so people need to be aware of that also.
Yeah, that's already been voted, right?
No, they have a runoff.
They have a runoff. Okay.
have a
And that's
runoff.
between Ellen Weaver and Manus or something
Yes.
like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so people need to do their due diligence. Look at who's backing the person. Look at who their track record, who's involved in their campaign, because that says a lot about something.
So, if you get voted into, so you recently had an election where you went to a runoff with Brandon Guffey,
Yes.
and your runoff election is when?
June 28th, a week Tuesday.
June 28th, a week from Tuesday. So you're encouraging everybody that lives in District 48 to go out and vote, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I appreciate you stepping out and doing this, being willing to get your life examined basically by the opposition, right?
Examined, slandered, whatever it takes.
For standing up for righteous. But how do you bring, can you bring God and morality back into schools as a state legislator, or how does that work? I mean, because we're seeing a lot of that, right?
Yes, we can. And there's a way to do it right. And there are legislators that have been fighting for this, to even something as simple as our motto, "In God We Trust," being on a wall in every school. Because that's our motto. Or for South Carolina, "While I breathe, I hope." And even things like in the Pledge of Allegiance, "One nation under God." And these things, or "I was endowed by my Creator." These are things that are foundational to our nation. And of course, they are truth that there is a God. He is the Creator. He created you with a purpose and a plan. He created you intentionally. He did not make a mistake when he created you. All of these things are in our foundation and very much should be in our schools, in our classrooms. And also with the philosophy of the public schools, they say we should be open to teaching our children everything so that they can make an educated choice. They have the power to choose what they will believe. They have the power to choose what they think about that information. But if we're not even giving them the information of that there is a creator and this is one thing that you could believe, or you could believe this or this, then we're actually doing a disservice to our children.
Right. You're only teaching them one side.
One philosophy.
So with that being said, is creationism illegal to teach in public schools
No.
in South Carolina?
No.
Is it taught anywhere?
Probably some places.
In some places
I'm
there
sure
is.
there are some excellent teachers that understand the truth of the philosophy of, I'm going to give you all the information so that you have the power to choose and make an educated decision of what you will believe.
So is that up to the teachers if they want to teach creationism? Give a creationism class?
Yeah.
Teachers or administrators.
Teachers or administrators.
Like
Really?
principal.
And
Wow.
I think that because I know lots of teachers that will do that because they truly understand this is our students have the right to know so that they can make an informed decision.
Yeah, now the teachers can't go in there and just start sharing the gospel unless a student
Right.
asks them, right? But
They
but it's
can't.
actually one of the reasons why there's such a pull to pull down the Constitution, because the Constitution so clearly roots itself in godly principles.
Yeah.
That if we're just allowed to teach, not just allowed, but if it's promoted in the public school system to teach the Constitution, that will give the teachers every opportunity to bring in the foundational truths on which this nation and our whole society is built.
Wow, that's such a good point. So who makes the decision to implement a curriculum in the state? Is that up to the state legislators? Does that come from the federal government, or?
Really, the actual curriculum will come from the school board. So this is why
Oh, wow.
the seats on the school board
They have a lot of
matter.
power.
They do. They have a lot of power. And so now legislators, and this is something that we're looking at, they can legislate. One of the things that they were working on this session was to do with a Citizen Act that each student must receive, and I think it may have been on a collegiate level, but they have to receive 1 year of instruction to do with the founding of this nation, to do with what it means to be a good citizen. Basically, the exam that I had to pass in order to become a citizen, all students should know that information and understand that information before they graduate high school, really.
Yeah.
Before you're going to be an adult responsible for yourself in the world, you need to know this and understand it.
Wow. So you have the power to pass like a stand or a requirement,
Yes.
or something like that.
Yes.
Okay.
And I know that that was something, I'm not sure if it fully got passed and signed into law, but I know it was a bill that the House of Representatives passed in favor of that. I'd have to look to see if it went in time to get passed by the senators.
Okay. So education is a big thing on your heart, and that's what you want to address, which, and then, you have the gun safety thing happening, and the whole gun control. So I guess on your website, you're pro Second Amendment,
Yes.
pro life. So,
Yes.
What do you think about red flag laws?
Due process is extremely important because, of course, if we know that someone is not healthy and they run a risk to themselves and other people, they shouldn't have a gun. But we can't just have people being able to accuse them of that and then
Without a trial.
without a trial, without due process.
Right.
And that needs to stay in place because our Second Amendment is so important. And right now, there's a lot of, and rightly so, emotionally charged because there's been some heinous tragedies. And so people are emotionally charged with that. But we can't allow that to cause us to swing the pendulum and make decisions that then put everyone in danger. Mm-hmm. Because we are well aware that good law-abiding citizens are just that, good law-abiding citizens. And if the law says we have to or can't do something, we want to be good law-abiding citizens. Those who are going to break the law are going to break the law anyway and still put us in danger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as evidenced by the places that have the most controls over what you can get or not get in terms of gun control have the highest crime rates. So it's not actually addressing the real issue. When it comes to red flag laws too, we talked to the sheriff, and he said they already exist here in South Carolina and in this county.
Okay.
But there is due process. So the red flag, it's a big talking point these days. Red flag laws, those exist already.
Okay.
But it has to be
But it still has to
with
go through
due process.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is a natural. The founders viewed that as a natural God, like an unalienable right from God that no man can breach.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. What else is on your heart to address when you get elected?
In my journey of going to the State House and questioning legislators why this bill started strong, but then we made all these amendments and we made it wimpy. I would ask, why are we doing that? And they would say that if it stayed this strong, we would just get sued, it wouldn't go through in court, and we would lose because our judges are so liberal. So then I started asking questions, 2 questions. One, why are our judges so liberal? Because when you do your research, it's our legislators that put our judges in place.
Really?
So there's
Wow.
this little kind of problem of passing the buck of whose problem it is and whose fault it is. So that was one part. The other thing is, well, then we need to do a better job of writing bills that are constitutionally ironclad, that it doesn't matter, they will hold up in court all the way up to the Supreme Court because it's according to our Constitution. So we need to craft bills, and we need to get back to bills that are like 1, maybe 2 pages long. None of this books full of information that goes way off course with the bills. But this is the issue. This is what this bill is about, and this is how it's going to stand up on a constitutional level and not be able to be thrown out in court. So there's this kind of, as you scratch the surface, you realize there's way more there to do with how we're writing our bills, making sure that they don't just come out swinging and strong, but that they are constitutionally strong so that they can't get thrown out in court. But then also, we need to have some reform on the judicial level of what's happening with how judges get in place and stay in place and those kinds of things.
Yeah, because I remember listening to the sheriff the other night when he was at the Oak Initiative. That was the biggest thing in the area was the judges problem. So that would be amazing to see some good judges put in place and make crime accountable.
Yeah.
One of the exciting things that just got launched in the spring here in South Carolina is the Freedom Caucus. We have one nationally. They just launched one on the state level for the purpose of being able to collaborate better to make stronger bills and to have a stronger presence in the House. And so this is part of the challenge is people say, well, we have 200 and whatever bills, we can't study them all. It's like, well, but if you have a group of 20, 30 legislators and they're parceling out these things, we can get better bills written, better bills crafted, and have some of the resources that come with having a Freedom Caucus. So I know Elizabeth's excited to join that. You have to be invited to join it, but she's already met with them a couple times, and they're excited about her race. And so
I would be honored to join the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah.
Hear that, Freedom Caucus
Yes,
members? There
I
you
will be
go.
honored to join the Freedom Caucus. But and with that, on my own, there are some people that have tried and they've been strong on their own. You can't really accomplish something on your own with this. You have to connect. You have to build a team, and it even is the same for getting elected into office. On my own, it's nothing. But what it is we the people are working together as a community to elect our voice to have a seat at the table in Columbia. And it's the same once we're there to connect with other legislators who truly are conservative, who truly want to stand up for what's right. Now, some of them need the strength of others. Mm-hmm. And one of the gifts that I bring to this is I know that I have, by God's help, a very strong backbone. And I'm not going to be corrupted. I'm not going to sway with the wind of what's popular. I know who I am and whose I am. I know what I believe and why I believe it and why it is important, why it matters. And so I know that I will bring an encouragement and a strength to those who are already there who have been fighting for this conservative voice.
So you're going to bring encouragement to some, and you're going to bring a very big danger to the others.
And that's true. And they know that. which is why there is a running against, I hope this isn't insulting, but there's a running against the good old boys club right now. And I have seen that in full force. And it kind of goes back to, you have to look at who's endorsing candidates. And
where can people find the information if they want to look at it?
On social media is
Okay.
a big place where you can see who's, when you see it's like
follow the candidates? Is that what you're saying? Follow their pages and see what they endorse and stuff?
Yeah.
And where can they go to find, does the Freedom Caucus have a website or social media and stuff too?
Yes. So if you just go to South Carolina Freedom Caucus, they do have a Facebook page, I'm sure other social media pages, and a website.
Okay.
Yeah, and it has a list of all the members of the Freedom Caucus on there.
Okay, awesome. And for other people that want to get, dive more into information on bills being passed or introduced and stuff like that, where do they go to find all that kind of stuff?
That's a tricky part.
Okay.
And that was something that I've been doing over the last 2 years, because it takes a lot of research. There is a website, but you have to know what you're looking for.
Okay.
And so I know I've connected with lots of different people who are like-minded all over the state who are doing the same thing. And so we share, hey, this bill came up. And I know for myself, I meet weekly through the year. We call it the Constitution Cafe, and we get together for an hour. We talk about bills that are coming up. We talk about if they're good bills or bad bills, and how to educate people about them, how to reach out to our legislators, reach out to the governor, that sort of thing, to inform the people of that. And I know when I'm elected, I'm going to keep doing that, because the people need to know. There needs to be more transparency and not just backroom conversations, but this bill is coming up. If you're in favor of it, let your legislators know. If you're not, and just educating the people to know.
Yeah. So I guess what would be the best resource for them to go now? What's that website? Is it South Carolina statehouse.gov or?
Yes.
something?
So, but then you have to really look up specific bills. If you don't know the bill number, you'll be on a goose chase.
Okay.
And
on your social media, I know you post a lot of what's going on too. Where can they find you on social media?
It's Dr. Elizabeth Enns is my name on social media.
Or Enns for Statehouse.
They can also find it if they go to Enns for Statehouse.
Okay. And you are on Facebook,
Instagram. Those are the most. There's other ones we're working on, but those are the most current and where you'll find the best information.
Okay, awesome. I think we're kind of coming up on our time, so I guess any final words or anything you want to say, and please share where people can support you and that as well.
So ElizabethEnns.com, you can go there to donate or email us if you would like to get involved in volunteering. And we have a runoff coming up on June 28th. So if you live in District 48 or you know someone who lives in District 48, I humbly ask for your vote. We need to get.
Tom Cruise
We only
still in
had
it?
3,000 people come out and vote on on Election Day. It would be so awesome if we had the same or even more that came out for the runoff. And so we need people to be aware that you need their vote, and every vote counts. And yes, so you go to ElizabethEnns.com for more information. Reach out if you have any questions. I am available.
Your email information's on your website?
Yes.
All right. And how if we live in a very prophetic community here, so if people want to, if they're on prayer teams and stuff, what are some of the biggest prayer needs for you?
I would say, one, that we win. Two, just for Jesse and my sons and myself, for just strength in this race. We are doing our best before the Lord to keep our hearts pure. And we know that when you are the bullseye on the target of attack, just to keep our hearts pure and to feel the strength of the Lord every day and the grace for each day. And also for the best strategies to win this race.
All right. Awesome. Any final words, Jesse?
No. Excited about what God has and about the future.
Yeah. So when you win this one, you'll be going up till against the regular election in November. So, well, thank you guys so much for sharing this morning. That was awesome, encouraging, and I'm looking forward to watching your journey ahead.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. I hope this encouraged you, and I hope this was educational for you. I know it was for me. Get involved locally to know what's going on, because policies that get passed in the state do affect your life. It do affect your children's lives. And you can find Elizabeth Enns on Facebook, on Instagram, elizabethenns.com for more information. Pray for her. Support her any way you can, whatever the Lord puts on your heart. And share this video with anybody that you know lives in District 48 so they can know more about what's going on, know their candidate, and things like that. So until next time, God bless you and God bless America.